Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
We have such a great story for you today. Dean Webb is excited. I'm excited. Of course, you know he's the executive director of Faith Farm Ministries. It is an industry also, but it is a ministry. Something so wonderful just happened. I think we touched on it last time that you were on the show, but why don't you tell us what happened? It's just a dream come true for all of you.
Well, Monday night, Kate Snow filled in for Lester Holt, and she, as anchor on NBC News, because it was her story. Several years ago, she did a story called Hooked, and it won the Emmy, and she was really shocked that it did because it was up against three other stories about an Ebola vaccine catastrophe, something that happened on a cruise ship where everybody... Anyway, there were a lot of stories. But Philip Seymour Hoffman, who did the starring role and won an Oscar for playing Truman Capote in that movie, had just overdosed and died. So it was all in the news. So her special, Hooked, won the Emmy. And they were surprised, Victor, the producer. Everybody was surprised they got it because there were such catastrophes going on in the world at the same time. But when Philip Seymour Hoffman overdosed and died, everybody was talking about heroin overdoses and stuff. So her story, Hooked, won the Emmy. And she'd followed four young men in St. Louis and followed them on their addiction to heroin. And two of them were brothers. And so what she did is she decided to go back and find out what had happened to those four men 2 or 3 years later. And one was still addicted. I think one had overdosed and died. And the two brothers, she called the mother and she said, yeah, they're still living with me and they're still addicted. And so she went by to see him. And anyway, so she does the follow-up story.
Before you go there, then let me ask you a question. We've had this discussion where when people, family members have a son or daughter or someone who's addicted, they're told many times you just have to cut them loose because they're so dependent on you. She didn't do that, though, did she?
No, she let them live with them. This tough love thing, there's a lot of discussion about where you draw the line and say, okay, you if you're going to do that. But the problem is a mother's love, it's really tough to do that. I mean, it's easy to say, have tough love, draw the line, just tell them you're not going to be an enabler anymore. But in actuality, it's tough to do that. It's really tough to do that. And so she had all the overdoses ready in case they overdosed. She had the medicine that they carry in the ambulances. When somebody overdoses, you can stick them with a needle and it'll bring them back and keep them from dying. And so she showed that she had all those. But anyway, when she went back to the mother, she called her and asked about son and said, well, actually, they're really doing great. She said one of them, Ryan, is down in Fort Lauderdale at a recovery center. And she says, well, what's the name of it? And she said, Faith Farm. And she said, really? And she said, yeah, he just graduated. He actually graduated from the Boynton Beach campus, and he went down to Fort Lauderdale to our Omega School program. And he was residing there. We'd gotten him a scholarship at a technical school. He wanted to study IT and electronics and stuff. So he was doing that. And so she came down and did the story. And that's what aired Monday night, is the story of the recovery, because there have been over 200 deaths so far just in the city of Cincinnati this year alone due to heroin. So it's been in the news and everything. So anyway, she was just excited to see something change. So she came down there and she spent a half a day, more than that, almost till 2 p.m. with her cameraman and sound man and the producer, Victor Lamjucco, and herself. And here's the funny thing: when it was shown, you saw Ryan. He just looked horrible. I mean, snot out of his nose. He was disheveled, and he looked totally out of it. And he denied being on heroin. He said, I was drinking and I took a Xanax. And she said, but his mother knew better. And so anyway, so she had set up for him to come, and she'd arranged with a technical school to go do a shot of him working on computers, and she had it all arranged. Well, she came down there and spent the whole day. And of course, she and Victor were just blown away by Faith Farm. They said, matter of fact, when Victor emailed me from New York, NBC said that it was going to be shown that night. It's been in the can now for 2 months. We talked about, I've been so excited for it to air, but what happened is we had all that Orlando shooting in the nightclub, and then we had the ISIS, the terrorists drive the bus through all those people, and just had one thing after another. Then you had the Republican convention, then you had the Democratic convention, and then you had the Olympics. And I was beginning to wonder if this show was ever going to get on. But when he emailed me Monday, Victor says, so I'm excited it's going to show tonight. I told you that he said it actually is the longest segment on the show tonight. And he said, so I'm excited we're going to finally get to air it. And it was kind of a dead news day except for the hurricanes on the coast, which they got out of the way first. But anyway, it was really neat because it showed him walking past the Faith Farm truck there at Lauderdale talking. And it was just a really neat thing to see him turned around. But what I was going to tell you is when the day they did the shoot at Fort Lauderdale campus, I was standing there with Richard Rosendo, the executive director of that campus, and her sound man, the boom mic guy, the guy with the camera, and Kate Snow, and myself. And we were standing there talking, and Kate was talking. And Ryan walks up. He finally arrived on campus, and he walked up and to the right of me, and she looks around and says hi, and then keeps talking. And Richard stops her and says, Kate, that's Ryan. And she looked and got tears in her eyes. She says, I'm sorry, I didn't even recognize you. You were so changed from when I did the story on you 2 or 3 years ago.
Isn't that amazing?
She didn't even recognize him. That was really cool.
Yeah, that is very exciting. Well, let me ask you though, where does the mother live?
In St. Louis.
Oh, in St. Louis, right? So they did shots up there, then they came down here for him.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And where is the other son?
The other son is in St. Louis working with his father. His father's in the construction business, and the son's working with him.
And has he turned around?
Yeah.
It said he did, but now how was he able to do that?
He was actually court-ordered to, I don't know where it was. It could have been St. Louis. He was court-ordered to a recovery program, and he went through that, and then he went to live with his father and is working with him. They didn't say that the father was still in St. Louis, so I shouldn't have said that. I don't really know where he was, but it said he went through the program, court-ordered by a judge, and then when he graduated that program, finished it, he went to live with his father and is working with him.
So when you say court-ordered, it means that if he goes back, he goes to jail.
Right.
So if he doesn't stick to what he's supposed to, right?
Yeah, but he did. He went through completed the program, so now he's out working with his dad. So,
and so the brothers aren't really together. They did this separately.
No, did it totally separate and in a slightly different way,
And I'm wondering why both of them didn't come down to Faith Farm.
I don't know the answer to that. I have no idea. I don't know.
And how did he find Faith Farm?
I don't know. I think she found it on the internet. We draw from in the last 5 years, we've drawn from all 50 states and about 6 foreign countries. So people find us on the internet. And matter of fact, we have already gotten an email from that program Monday, just a desperate mom. She's got a 31-year-old son.
You already got something from the program?
And she said, I saw the program, and I'm so desperate to find a recovery program that works. And she says, how do I get my son in? And of course,
is the son ready? Right?
Yeah, that's the point. That's what we always have to tell him. Says, as much as you want to help him, you can't apply for him. He's got to apply.
So you did get a response already.
Yeah, so it's just interesting. When somebody's got somebody addicted, they're looking for any help they can get, and they're going to pick up on it more than somebody just sitting there watching the TV news that doesn't affect them. But if you've got somebody addicted and they're talking about a recovery program that works, they're going to call you. They're going to find you out.
Yeah, well, and you've been doing this now for how many years have you?
I've been down here 9 years. Yeah, 9
years doing this, and probably that story could be repeated many times. It just so happened that one got on television
that was on TV. Yeah,
but that story, when you go to your graduations, it's
you hear
over
it
and over and over
again. Yeah. It's just,
if she went to a graduation, it would really blow her away.
Well, she and Victor, I stood and talked to him. Victor was the producer of NBC Nightly News. He said, we do a lot of stories all over the country, actually all over the world. He said, this is the most remarkable program we've ever encountered. He said we were just blown away. We didn't know anything like this, like Faith Farm even existed. And so anyway, the problem. I wish the guy doing the editing had been able to visit, but they were impressed. But they turned the tape over, and he warned. He said, I'm going to warn you, a lot of tape hit the cutting room floor.
But as you said, it was the longest segment they had. Yeah, they don't. Yeah. I've seen a lot of stuff, and I know how fast it is because I never told you this, but thinking about it, as a gerontologist, I was hired by a PR agency Christmas time to go to 10 major stations, NBC, ABC, all over the country, 10 days, 10 stations, 10 cities, 10 places around Christmas time, and I had a big suitcase. There's a reason I'm telling you this. A big suitcase with all the products that I had. What do you want to buy for your parents at Christmas? I had a DVD on a cruise. Then we had little gadgets. So here I am. Picture this. I'm traveling. I went from Dallas to New York, the flight in a hotel, and I get to the station, and I get everything arranged, and I have 2 minutes.
Oh, my goodness.
That's what I'm
right.
saying. So here I am. 2 minutes, I have to say, look about this, get this, and this, done. So, yours was more than 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't count, but it was more than 2 minutes.
I think it's 4 minutes.
So that's what I'm saying, that, it's like this, because people get bored. They don't want to do that. And so I laugh at when you were saying, so don't be spoiled.
Well, no, I'm thankful. I write magazines like Florida Trend and others, and, because I see them doing all these lavish layouts in their magazine monthly on these treatment centers that are $1,000 a day and all this stuff on the beach and everything. And I write them and I say, you've got a gem of a jewel sitting right here in South Florida that draws from all over the country.
And you never had them come down.
And I never have them come in. And
maybe now you rewrite it and tell them that you are on NBC. That could be very impressive, and maybe that would
just send them the link for that.
Link, or just say, in a letter, one little paragraph, and say, please look at the link. That might very well do it for them.
Because it frustrates me that everybody, and I really mean this, more people around the country know about us than the people in Florida, and here's where we located, So I get a little frustrated. So when somebody like this comes, like NBC comes down from New York out of the blue to do a story, I'm grateful to God for the exposure. I'm just grateful because I didn't have anything to do with that. It was nothing we did to
and of course,
initiate that.
All your students must have been just out of their mind, excited that they were
coming.
That had that. So when they came, everybody wanted to see them doing the shooting of it.
Actually, they were all in class or working. There was nobody around. Matter of fact, I've got the link. I'm going to probably show it.
You have
on
to
the
show
screen
it. Absolutely.
Because most of the students don't even know about that.
Maybe at dinner time or sometime when they're in with their prayer, whatever it is, you have to show it.
So,
it's very impressive.
Yeah, they just need to know. And I can do the setup, that this is the guy that's in our Omega School program. I tell you about it, but this is actually it.
Now, in the program, does he stay in Fort Lauderdale then while he's going to that?
Yeah, we have two buildings, Omega Work and Omega School. He's in the Omega School building, and they're segregated from all the others because they have to study, and they come and go to class, and they just have a different schedule. They're provided the room and meals while they're going to school. Up to 1 year, they have, and they can go to they can go to a tech school. Like he's going to a tech school. Ryan is for IT work and computer work, and she said he's online to make straight A's.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, I had to learn a lot when I came down here, Anita. I really thought people that got addicted to drugs or alcohol were just
bums. Sorry, I think we all felt that
low
way.
Life, homeless
of
bums.
Course.
But some of the smartest people I've ever met, and I've been around. I've been in over 50 countries. Some of the smartest people I've met have been coming through the program at Faith Farm. It's not that they're stupid. They're smart, but they got sidetracked and got addicted, either drugs or alcohol, and couldn't shake it.
Well, look at our movie stars and famous people.
Do it. Yeah.
So let's. So it's not. You're right, though. It's very typical to think about that. When I see a homeless person standing on the corner, I really wonder who is that person, because they're not that person standing on the corner.
Oh, no.
There's somebody else with a lot of defeat or whatever they have, and
I ran into a homeless guy under a bridge in Atlanta. He was living in a box, a cardboard box, and got to talking to him. He was a concert pianist. He was from France, and he quit getting concerts. He spoke 3 languages. He's a brilliant guy. He quit getting concerts, and he got depressed and started drinking. And his whole life spiraled down. And there he was living under an overpass in Atlanta, a cardboard box. He was brilliant. I mean, he wasn't stupid by any means. But sometimes when life goes against you, sometimes you get depressed and everything. The neat thing that I love, though, about Faith Farm is we take people who they're stealing from people. They're burglarizing homes. They're costing insurance companies money to pay for the stolen items. It's just on and on and on. And we take those people and turn them upside down and make them citizens, tax-paying citizens. And so you not only have that add-on to the economy of their turnaround, but you also have the add-on from the lack of theft and stealing and all the other stuff that they were doing to feed their habits. So you do away with that, and then you add on the other. It's like a double leveraged benefit.
It's so positive. So my guest is Dean Webb. You have heard Dean here before. We're privileged to have him. He rushes over here. He's such a busy schedule. He's the executive director of Faith Farm Ministries. And you're probably sitting there saying, well, how can I help? I don't need to go there. What can I do? Well, you can donate. You can donate money. That's really important. But if you don't have a lot of money, why don't you just go there and buy some of their products at their wonderful thrift shop? Or if you have lots of things, clean out your closets. It's going from now summer to fall. There's lots of things that you could probably get rid of. You'll even be happy. And what you want to do is go to their website, and their website is faithfarm.org, and they're located. Their thrift shop that I know, of course, is Boynton Beach. They have one in Fort Lauderdale too, but the big one is over there right off 441 and Boynton Beach Boulevard, and it's a glorious thing. Now, remember, a lot of those people working there were once addicted to something, and they have now cleaned themselves out, and that's part of their job, because if any of them live there, they get food, they get all sorts of everything you need to live, and they're not charged for it, but they have to, of course, work to earn their keep. That's a rightful thing. I think that's very appropriate. But you do a great job there, and we do want to put a little shout-out to Judy Walters, who is trying to recover from cancer. She's been on our show also. She writes the column in Boomer Times, a very special woman, and we all have our prayers and our energy to make her get better. So, hey there, Judy. We do love you. Well, let's follow this along, though. When you have your women there, we don't talk about the women very much, because we do, but not as much. When the women recover, that's almost harder, because you said that, because they've got families, got children, they got to disappear for 9 months. But in the long run, it's such a big, splendid celebration when they're clean.
Yeah. It's tough on the women. If they've got children, it's really, really tough. They can only stick out the program as long as they know their child is safely taken care of. If they don't have, I was out, we had our big auto auction a couple Saturdays ago, and there's a guy in in Cincinnati, whose daughter came through the program. And he comes down every now and then to connect with her. She had a 3.5-year-old son, Christopher. Well, he and her stepmom, his new wife, they agreed to take the son and keep him in Cincinnati if she would come, so she would feel safe to come through the program. And so he comes down to check on her. And
how's she doing?
Oh, she graduated. She became a counselor at Watershed, a secular recovery ministry. And she married a guy named Christopher that graduated from our program at Boynton Beach.
And so her child's back with her.
And not only that, Christopher adopted Christopher. And so and not only that, when I saw them Saturday, they had this cute little girl named Morgan, and she was holding. It was a baby. It was a friend of Candy's, who is addicted, and she's trying to get her to come in the program. And she says, You know me. I've known you for years. I'll keep your child safe if you'll come into the program.
This is goosebump
So that's payback
time, isn't
that's
it?
Great.
Payback.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Oh, that is just beautiful, Dean.
And Christopher's got a job. He's an IT guy, really smart. He actually, this guy, a guy from Russia, owns several companies, and he really likes to reward people to do good. Well, they went from a small apartment. They now have a nice home in Wellington, and they have just totally turned around. So I love it when her father, Ken, comes down from Cincinnati. We actually go to a place near your place, Two Georges. That's his favorite restaurant when he comes in town. And we just have a celebration that Candy and Christopher and little Morgan someday will all be totally fine. And it's just neat to see people turn their life around. In that U-Turn book, Emily, the first story in there, she was an Oklahoma gal, soccer winner, great goalie. She got kicked out of school for smoking marijuana and stuff at University of Oklahoma. Anyway, she spiraled in that. She ended up toting a gun, driving a getaway car, and came from a good family. But she came to Faith Farm, turned her life around. She went to Palm Beach Atlantic. She graduated magna cum laude and did the graduation speech for all the schools. And she married a guy that came through our program. We had one of our comprehensive work training things. We have recruiters come, and he joined the Army, and he's made rank. They got married, and she now has a baby. And I tell you, Anita, I love to see. I mean, when we have turnarounds at Faith Farm, we have dramatic turnarounds. I mean, huge.
Maybe I know everyone wants you to write another book. Maybe it's called Turnaround. And maybe it's all these stories of what you just told me.
Yeah.
Because that's very exciting stuff.
Because what we have in our books is we have from where they started out, how they fell down into their addiction, and then came to Faith Farm and recovered during their stay at Faith Farm. But what we need to do is probably, to give people hope that are in their addiction, is to show what happens to them later. I mean, we got that guy Roy Foster who's just broke down on 160 rental units for veterans up off of Lake Worth, and he came through our program 32 years ago. A Green Beret, his life was transformed. In the book, the chapter.
He's
Roy,
the one that talked at the graduation. Greg Foster.
Yeah,
had us all in tears. I mean, he's quite a guy.
So anyway. The turnarounds are just absolutely dramatic.
So turnaround could be a very good one. I'm putting something in your brain because I think that, and if not, then you have to maybe do an column on it. But that's what people can really see.
Oh yeah. It's very tangible proof that it works. I mean, because you see them turn around. The sad thing is, some people. We always say everybody needs us, but not everybody wants us. But some people. They may not have hit bottom. They're here for a respite in just 3 or 4 months, and they walk off. So not everybody stays around to graduation. I mean, if we start with a class of 17, we might graduate anywhere from 4 to 6 or 8.
And tell me I'm sure you talk with them before they leave. And what do they say? I can do it. I don't need to be here.
Yeah, I don't do. I do it. See, that's the problem. The medical thing called the pink cloud is what happens when you've been off drugs and alcohol for anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks, and you've been on a regimen. You've gone to sleep a certain time, got up a certain time, you had 3 meals a day, you've had physical labor, you worked, you had mental stimulation, you had spiritual stimulation. What happens then, your mind and body start saying, I feel better than I felt in years. And the sad thing is that's true. I mean, your mind and body aren't lying to you based on where you've come from. You probably do feel better. But that's when most people walk off because they say, well, I feel so good. I got it, man. I don't need to stay 9 months. Why would I? And that's when they walk off. That's when we have somebody call us to identify a body behind a dumpster. The overdose happened to a guy that walked off point.
So you've seen that.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen people who were there and left.
And I tell them to beware of the pink cloud. When I speak to each incoming class 1, I said every single human that comes through this program is affected by that. You just don't succumb to it because your mind and body will tell you you're perfect, you're fine. Why would you stay 9 months? Because you feel better than you've ever felt, and that's a true statement. The problem is you haven't been totally. Don't have all the training we give you, all the things on the causes of addiction, how to set boundaries when you leave here. You don't have all all the education, the 12 steps, all the stuff that you need to stay recovered, they don't have yet. It's a full program. Because after 6 months, they go, that's when your nerve synapses start growing back together between your left and right lobes. And that's when we go from an hour-a-day classes to a half-a-day classes before they go to work. And that's when they get the greatest change, is when their mental acuity is at the best it's ever been, is at the 6-month level. So I warn them not to succumb to the pink cloud and walk out, because they don't stand a chance if they do that.
Well, the other thing that is so remarkable about your program is that it's free. I mean, it's like, that's so unheard of, because there are so many places that, okay, that's what they do. They have their psychiatrists, they have people that have to have their, and I'm sure there's some success, but most people probably in this condition can't even afford it. They've got their loans, people have been giving them money. So here's a place that has so much confidence that you'll make it, and you have enough donors and enough people, and your business sense has brought in enough ways to earn money, and that you can afford to do it. It's always touch and go, and I know that's why I beg people to please donate to you. But when you think of it, I mean, how lucky can they get?
I know it. I had one person complain, one of the students wanted to complain about it. He says, well, yeah, it's free, but I'm having to work every day. I said, son, let me just tell you something.
Oh, no, he said that?
Yeah, I said, let me tell you
please.
something. We are doing you a favor. Oh. And the reason I say that is we're establishing a routine work ethic in you every single day, that when you graduate and go to work, you're going to be competing if everybody's been setting an alarm clock and going to work every day while you're here. So you're going to blend right into them, because you're going to have the work ethic established. He goes, I never thought about it like that.
Well, do you actually get to talk to a lot of the people?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Well, Dean Webb, we did it again. This was a remarkable show. I appreciate it so much. I'm so inspired. When you leave, everything else is downhill from here.
Well, anyway, thank you for having me on.
Nobody heard that one. Thanks, Dean.
Thanks, Fred.